Hi, guys. I'm excited to introduce you to Jen DiSisto of Art Duet.
Hi, everyone.
She is an amazing, talented art manager and just someone who's so big in the art creative industry. So we want to hear more from her. Jen, can you tell us about your background and your connection to the arts?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Mary. Happy to be a part of the project. The long and short of it is that growing up, I was very influenced by album covers. My dad had like a massive vinyl collection. I was always poring over them and so intrigued by the whole thing. And that kind of led me to follow down a path working primarily in music. I worked in a radio station in college. And then afterward, I moved to LA, and my first job was as a music publicist. And I was heavily ensconced in kind of music and that type of thing, music management, all those sorts of things. And then I got an opportunity to work at the art department at Warner Brothers Records. And for me, to get the opportunity to work now on these album covers and these designs, it was an absolute dream come true. And what I realized was that I was always really more connected to the visual part of music, which is what had led me to work in the music business. But it was really more the art that I was more personally connected to and inspired by. So it was a dream job, as I said, and I learned so much. I fully immersed myself into learning all about, the photographers and the graphic designers and all these different things. And it was very exciting. And at that time, some of the music artists on the label would come into the department and work on their album art. And I became very intrigued by that process about creativity. And if you're good as a musician, are you good as as a visual artist? And it became kind of a very passionate pursuit of mine. Not that long thereafter, I met Brandon Boyd from the band Incubus at his art show. And it was kind of like a real time moment of like, this is exactly what I'm saying. Like this is this person who's known in this area. Here's his beautiful artwork. And from there, I left Warner, met with Brandon, and he was kind of my first client as I started Art Duet, which was in 2008. So that was kind of the launch of me doing my own thing, which has consisted of management and a lot of art events and art PR and sales. If you name it, it's been all art all the time since 2008 for me.
And I love that it's like a niche. I feel like you always work with these like artists that are not just like one path. It's like it's the artist who also does music and like
Exactly.
the multidisciplinary artist. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating thing. And so recently, Brandon and I have started a company together, really kind of examining that concept of multidiscipline artists and exploring that further. So it's always really interesting to identify these people because there's a ton of them. There's a lot of them out there. So it's exciting.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're also working with me on Hungry Artists, which is
Yeah.
super exciting.
Yes.
And Hungry Artists, like we've talked about, is the person who is a creative, who's
Mhm.
so determined and also have that talent that they will just do everything to make sure that they thrive in their careers. Like, I feel like that's you as well. So
Mhm.
tell us about your journey as a Hungry Artist.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like I was thinking about this earlier today, or I've thought about it quite a bit, but I feel as though when you are really passionate about what you're doing, and especially you're deeply connected to, for me, the people I represent or the people I'm doing projects with, I'm very deeply involved with them in almost like a caretaking type of way. So there's really not enough that can ever be done. It's like a constant, it's a bit insatiable, to be honest, because there is so much you can do. And, your mind is always going a million miles an hour and there's all sorts of exciting things happening. So for me, it's to the point where there's no separation between my work life and me as an individual. It's all together and it's a constant. After we hop off this call, I'm going to Malibu for an art show, and my friends will be there. So it's like one big, cake. And you're constantly kind of like adding on to it. So
Yeah. And I feel like artists wouldn't be artists if they didn't have people like you in their lives. So I feel like it's kind of like that perfect combination of like you can be a hungry artist, but you also need a hungry art advisor and a
exactly.
hungry art agent. And I feel like when I think of somebody who is like an amazing art manager slash agent, that's you, you like are nonstop, and I feel like you are so savvy and smart about the way you get all these amazing opportunities lined up for your artists. So, I mean, hungry artists can't be anything without people like you. So that's very cool, Jen, that you're always hustling, and
Thank
you
you.
are a New Yorker.
Exactly. You and me are like, whoop, yep.
Yep, for sure. So that's really cool that you actually created artwork for this
Yes.
collaboration.
Yes.
Yes. Because usually you're always kind of the agent, you're always representing them. But
Correct.
then this time we got you to like pick up a pencil and it's like, Jen, you create some art. And
Correct.
so for our exquisite collabs, we have the hungry artist head, and then we have a creator make the legs, and then we have somebody make the wings. And so when I asked you, do you want to try making wings? And you said, I would love to. Tell us about your wings that you created and what was your thought process behind like making that piece?
Okay, absolutely. So yeah, initially the thought was obviously I can't draw, because truthfully people have asked me throughout my life, are you able? I've made one art piece ever. It's at my mom's house in New York. I got an A on it in some random art class, but generally I'm not a visual person, but I mean, I'm a visual aesthetic person, but I have been like a lifelong writer. I used to write lyrics, and obviously I write a lot of press releases and materials like that. So for me, and I talk a lot, as we can probably see. So for me, words come kind of naturally. So I thought, well, that would be really cool to do kind of like an acronym of what comprises a hungry artist, HUNGRY artist. So it went from there, and I think it turned out pretty good. I'm pleased with it, and I'm really just happy to be a part of it. And I love the pairing with my set of people. It's fantastic.
Yes. No, I love it. Actually, like even the words that it got layered on, and when you like look at it fast, it just almost looks like graffiti, kind of just like, oh, these words like on wings.
You wouldn't
But
know
it's
it
really
right.
fun when you then like read each word and it's like, oh, it's an acronym for hungry artists. So that was brilliant. I love it. And I love that like it's animated and that we had that. So it's kind of like glowing, very rainbow, very you. Yeah.
Love it.
And then we also have the song embedded on it, which was a person who created the song that was introduced through you. You can give a little like
I would love to.
preview of that.
So, and I think, well, you came to me, you had come to me and said, do you know someone who's like a really good writer? You know, a lot of music people. And the first person that popped to mind was my friend Chad, whose band I managed way too long ago to discuss, 2 decades ago. But he went on to be in a band called Carolina Liar, and he teaches songwriting. He embodies what a hungry artist is. He's always either teaching or creating a new band, and this, that, and the other thing. So, and I actually used to write lyrics with him as well. We did a couple songs together back in the day.
Cool.
He really was very encouraging of that with me. So when you said that, and when I thought about what a hungry artist is, Chad immediately, popped to mind. And so I love the fact that he came on board. I think it's just so symbiotic and such a cool thing that he's part of the mix. I couldn't be more stoked about it.
And I feel like there's not that many people that you can say, how cool would it be if somebody could write a hungry song and then he just whips it out and it's so amazing. And to have that song, like bits and pieces of it embedded on all 12 of the collaborations is so amazing. And we're saving his for the last drop.
Yeah.
But it's kind of nice doing the build up and then the little like sneak peek of the story of how that song even happened. So thank you for making that introduction.
Absolutely. I'm so glad he's on board.
And then also, what is your thoughts on NFTs and also Web3?
Okay. Yes. So I have to say that being that I am from a physical art world, like a lot of people, a lot of my peers, contemporaries, clients, everybody, when this came into the fold, which was kind of like, it felt like an avalanche of information about specifically this. It was, I believe, in the beginning of COVID when I started to hear about it. I know that they've existed for quite some time prior to, but I think that's when everyone started to hear about it and the Beeple thing happened and all that type of stuff. And at first I was quite reticent to get involved because I think at the core of it, I didn't understand. And, anything kind of that's ever been tech or focused in that direction, I've always like shied away from. I was never like a science math type, so I've always been like, that's not for me. I don't get it. Or I've told myself that. Mm-hmm. And it was actually, Mary, in following your path and seeing how much you were learning, you kind of like got me involved. And it was one specific panel that you and I went to. Yeah. It was a women in tech panel. And it was a really interesting women, if you recall. Mm-hmm. And they just said something that really really stuck with me, which was, as a female, it's very important that you are engaged in what your future and your fiscal future looks like. And there's a lot of opportunities for you in this space, being that there aren't a lot of women in here. And, you owe it to yourself to try to educate yourself. So, and I fully went down the rabbit hole. You and I have done it a bit together. You are like my inspiration for it. But once I kind of did understand the basics about it, I felt very passionate that this is not contradictory to traditional art. This is never going to replace a painting. We don't have to have that argument. There's a bigger picture here, which isn't just about NFTs. It is about Web3. It is about the next step of what that means, which actually really boils down to empowering individuals more so than we've seen in the past. So there's so many inspirational things about it for me, and just what they say about the community has been so nice to get to know all different types of people and different perspectives. And that was very refreshing, being that I've done this for so long. I obviously see a lot of the same people. It's a lot of the same discussions and that type of thing. So it was very refreshing to have all these new perspectives and listen to people's stories and see how inspired they were. So I feel very passionate about it. And I've tried to kind of encourage all my friends to get educated on it. So I've quite enjoyed teaching an old dog can learn a new trick, is what I like to say, because I feel proud of myself for learning something new.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's amazing. And I think it's very great to look at the future of like where art is going, and you don't want to be a dinosaur and to like, keep up with everything. And then the more knowledge you have, the more you could pass on to the artists that you are managing. So I think that's really great. You're so forward.
For me, I owe it to everyone I work with to be educated about it too. Exactly. So that was another part of it. I didn't expect to end up enjoying it this much, but I really, I've gone, I've drank the Kool-Aid, so to speak.
I know we all have drank the Kool-Aid. We're like, go NFT.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yes. So, and I know we talked about we should create a shirt that has a dinosaur with the X
dinosaurs. Exactly, Mary. Yes.
When we have what were you saying with like the dinosaur metaphor with like Warner Brothers or just like music? It's like a lot of
you brought that up. Yes. And that was another thing that kind of was triggered for me as I started to learn about this. I remembered when I worked at Warner Records, as I mentioned earlier, Napster had come along into the mix. And I remember, the attitude of the label was fairly cocky, and it was just like this thing that no one really understood. And, there's no way it's going to take these like old construct down. And here we are. So that also struck a chord with me. And I kind of tapped into that learning experience as to, you really don't want to be a dinosaur. You want to try to get out in front of things and just gather as much information as you can. You don't have to, you don't have to enjoy it or be passionate the way you and I are about it, but you do owe it to yourself to get educated about what direction the future is going. So,
right. Yeah. And I believe that, NFTs, Web3 is not going away. And even people, they were probably like resistant when it was going from Web 1 to Web 2. It took a long time. And so right now it's still very early, but it's really fun to be like innovating with projects like this and just being kind of in the front trailblazing. So it's really exciting. Lastly, I know you have to go to Malibu for your NFT event, but I just wanted to ask, what are you currently working on and where can everyone find you?
Okay, great. Yeah. So I am working on a few different things, apart from working on this with you, doing the PR and helping with marketing and everything. Very excited. I am working on Moonlight Arts Collective with Brandon and another partner. So that's moonlightartscollective.com. We are actually going to be putting out an NFT shortly. We're determining the date, but it's between Brandon and a woman named Heart Evangelista, who is like an actress, a singer, a model. She's everything. She lives in the Philippines, and she's so talented in every way and a fabulous painter. So her and Brandon have collaborated on a piece, which is gorgeous. And Brandon has written a song for it. So it's really special. I'm really, really excited about that and scheduling when that's going to come out. And, I work on different events and things as they come up. So you can find information about me on artduet.net. That's my website, or my Instagram is artduet. Yeah.
I love that. And that just sounds like the whole theme is like collaboration. The way that Brandon is collaborating with Heart and even with us collaborating with all these amazing creators. I feel like Web3 is about collaborating.
Collaboration. It really is. It's not about keeping everything to yourself. It's about like inclusion, not exclusion. I know these are words that people think are cliche, but they really actually are true. And I think you and I found that out.
Yeah. And we're putting our actions to our words. So I think that this is amazing.
Exactly. Me
And
too.
that's like the perfect way to end. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for coming on,
thank
having
you.
this interview and telling us about like all the stuff you're working on. So
Absolutely, Mayor. Thank
have a
you.
wonderful day.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Okay.
Bye.